I'm Chase.
And I'm Andrew.
We're a third-generation family business all about farm fresh food and fun.
Welcome to the Stew Leonard's LegenDAIRY podcast. This episode is going to be mainly about products at Stew Leonard's and how they started, because every product has a story.
It sure does. And they're the most unexpected stories.
Exactly, yeah. And some of the things we started as an entrepreneurial business. My mom started up all the bakeries at Stew Leonard's. Chase's dad is obviously Stew. And when the store actually started, the reason that the maze type of configuration happened was because it started as a small store with only 7 or 8 items.
Yeah.
And then my mom came back from France and she started up the bakeries, and then there was a bakery department, and then they went to a show and saw a bunch of cheeses and
opened a deli.
They opened a deli, and then the meat department and the seafood department. So those didn't exist. So it kind of just happened over time.
And it's sweet the way it happened too, because our grandfather had a small dairy store, and slowly farmers basically would stop by and say, hey, I have an extra load of corn. Do you want to sell it? And our grandfather just said, sure. How much?
Yeah.
So slowly it grew to more and more products. But it's exciting to think back on how that happened, because a lot of it was reinstilled in our team members, that entrepreneurial spirit to try things and see if it works. Norwalk, our flagship store that you talked about, that has had 13 additions put on it because, like you said, department just grew and grew. We connected with farmers and we brought the food in. I want to talk about our best-selling product in the bakery. Well, one of them in the donut section, our apple cider donuts, because that has a cool story about how it started.
That is, they're so delicious. And really the way that started is our grandfather started this concept up called a one idea trip. And essentially what a one idea trip is we take a team of all of our top people at the store, and we'll go to a destination that has something like super cool.
Find a line, we always say.
Yeah. And
that's really easy to do, for example, in New York City. Like if you walk by somewhere and there's a line wrapping around the block, naturally you're like, what's going on there? So we always try to find a line.
Yeah, and just come back with one positive idea. We were always, as growing up, it was always optimism, positive reinforcement. So really just not worrying about failure and finding something that works as opposed to looking for all the things that are wrong. That was what we were trying to come back with. So a group of people from Yonkers up here at our Yonkers store went out to a market out in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, called Root Market. And Root Market in itself probably could have its own podcast, but essentially it was a mill factory that they turned into this giant kind of auction house type farmers market. And it's only open on Tuesdays.
Right?
Yeah, it's one day a week, only a few months out of the year.
Wow.
So it's really you gotta go, and we took a one idea trip out there and
for sandwiches, right?
Sandwiches. So we wanted to bring back they have these really good sandwiches out there, and there's hundreds of vendors that pop up, and they whether it's fresh produce or things like that, or sandwiches or apple cider donuts.
Yeah.
So we went out there for sandwiches and came back, and really everybody was like, those apple cider donuts that they were making there were amazing.
Yeah, and apparently we obviously weren't on this trip. In fact, I don't know if we were born yet.
2003. So.
Okay, we were born. Yeah, but apparently as they were driving back, all the farm stands too had apple cider donuts. And they were just noticing like, wow, apple cider donuts seem to be a hot ticket item out here in Pennsylvania. So Tom Arthur, who was running the Yonkers store at the time, the next day said to Mercy, who now runs all of our bakeries and has been at Stew's for 30-something years.
Over 30 years, yeah.
She's amazing. Tom said to Mercy the next day, hey, I found a local store that sells donut making machines. Do you want to take a ride down there and check it out? Mercy's like, okay, sure. So they go down there and buy a donut machine And the guy who sold them the machine was like, it's going to be 6 months before you get your machine delivered, which at Stew Leonard's, that just does not fly.
Doesn't fly.
We actually have a saying here, get it done, then get it perfect. And when you say get it done, it means like tomorrow, because we like to move quickly. I think that's something we pride ourselves on, being entrepreneurs and working fast and not having to go through the ladder to execute an idea. So Tom somehow convinced this guy to actually sell them the floor model. So
Right
they
off the
wheeled
floor.
it. Yeah, they wheeled it out.
And I think that was on a Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because they went to the market on Tuesday. They went up to the machine factory on Wednesday.
Yes.
And then we had the machine up and running by Saturday in the store. And by Saturday morning, I mean, people were walking around the corner, and there was just a donut machine with fresh donuts, apple cider donuts being made.
Yeah, I mean, Mercy explains it that she was still perfecting the recipe like as they were making them, because she had never made donuts before. And I guess that the line started going out to the parking lot. Like, people were going nuts over the donuts.
Crazy. And then from there, I mean, it just kind of catapulted into, okay, we have something here. And that's really the cool thing, because then we took that idea and now we have several other items. I mean, these are in all stores now. We make our fresh donuts in all the stores. We're coming out with a honey crisp donut. We have a banana donut.
Yeah.
We have
Pumpkin
donut during the season. So we're doing all kinds of different things. And as Stu always says, when we go on these trips, he calls it R&D plus I, which is we call it retrieve and duplicate and improve. So I mean, you don't have to reinvent the
wheel. No.
wheel. You just need to build a better mousetrap, essentially. And so that's what we do. We take something, but we really, really get behind one thing as opposed to spreading out too thin.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we have so much success in our stores.
And we always put like a unique touch on it too. For example, with our apple cider donuts, we use our fresh apple cider that comes from local upstate New York farms. So they're fresh every single morning. 5 a.m., the donut machine ramps up. During the holidays, things get a little crazy.
Yep.
Because they're in such high demand that I know they start making them at 3 a.m. And then what did you say about having an extra machine?
Oh, yeah,
right?
The Burger Barn. Once the Burger Barn closes down, they turn that into a whole donut factory outside because they literally can't keep up with the demand during the holidays.
I think it's something like 40,000 donuts a week are being made, just in apple cider. So
Crazy. But
it just goes to show.
Wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the platform that we do here. And that's how a lot of these items start, is because you could have a manager in a corporate, place that looks at the numbers and, says, oh, we can't buy the machine, it's too expensive or something like that. But really, you always have that platform here. And a lot of the reason, too, is because 80% of the people are grown from within. So, Tom Arthur worked here his entire life.
Yeah.
So he understands, okay, if you have an idea and you're passionate about it, let's do it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
It doesn't work and you move on and you find something else.
And we also have limited items, so we really only keep what works. Compared to a normal grocery store, we only have a fraction of what a normal grocery store sells, because we just like to pinpoint what our customers love and try to elaborate on that in any way. There's also Snowball Rolls. Those are a hot item in the bakery.
I love that. I love that item and I love that story too.
Those are also the type of items over the holidays that, like, the bag is hot when you touch it because they just can't keep those on the shelves almost. But the Snowball Rolls came to be from Loretta, who worked in the Danbury store and ran all of our bakeries for quite some time. How did it go in the beginning, right? A Portuguese bakery?
Yeah, some Portuguese bakery, right? That they found the idea. But really, when they first started it, I think it was a really good product, but it didn't have that extra kind of pizzazz to it. So I think a lot of it really just came down to the name. Because
I know, the name's
this,
so good.
It was just this conversation where it was, okay, what are we going to call these? And And it was just a brainstorming session, and Loretta piped up and she said, well, it kind of looks like a snowball.
Yeah.
And because it has the flour dusted on the top, and it really just is the shape of a snowball. And that was just instantly, everybody was like, I love that name.
Yeah.
That's it. It's Snowball Rolls.
It's like a soft, fluffy roll that is a little bit doughy. And it's so good.
Really
it
just
melts in your mouth. Yes, that's how Loretta describes it. And I'm like, that is so true. You have to keep me away from those things because you can eat like 10 of them.
Yeah. And now we have organic ones too, which are, popular as well. So, but we sell over 20,000 Snowball Rolls.
Yeah.
Per week.
Yeah.
Which is pretty incredible.
And I think also it makes the team members here at Stew Leonard's feel really proud, as I would if I started a product, and then to see it grow like that. I know Loretta was saying when she was telling me about her experience with the Snowball Rolls, like how proud it made her feel that she created that idea and executed it, and now to see all these people enjoying it.
Right. There's always a person behind it.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it's our team members, and whether it's we even get ideas from our other stores. Like
yes.
We walk around, you'll go to another store and you'll see something, wow, that's really cool. Or it's a competitor, or it's, Central Market out in Texas, or things like that. But I mean, Bubba Biscuits is a perfect example. Yeah. We never really had a big dog food category here.
No.
Or dog treats or anything like that. However, there was a team member, Barbara in Danbury, who was super passionate about pets and
like obsessed with dogs specifically,
and had the idea to make Bubba Biscuits.
Well, you know what happened, Andrew, is actually my dad's dog, the dog I grew up with too, Bea, was super, super picky and wouldn't eat any dog treats. So Stu called her one day and said, Barb, I know you love dogs, right? And she was like, yeah, I love dogs. Can you make a biscuit that she won't turn her nose to? And Barb was like, I felt kind of challenged, but I was up for the challenge. I was like, okay, let me get into the kitchen and see what I can whip together that Bea will like. So Barb said she experimented for a few days, but what's really important to her, obviously, is high-quality ingredients, no preservatives, everything fresh and natural. And that's what started this line of Bubba Biscuits, which are...
Your dog was super, super happy to be coming home.
Yeah, well, she was like the tester of all this. I mean, I could only imagine that it was a little bit nerve-wracking for Barb, but Bea liked this treat. So Barb started in Danbury. She was a one-woman show, as she described
and her
it.
nickname was Bubba, too.
Yes, her nickname was Bubba.
That's how the name came about. It's everyone throughout her life. And she's been at Stew's for over 40 years.
Yeah.
Since her career started.
Yeah. And she started by demoing them on the weekends. I think that's also a key component to launching a new product, is letting our customers taste it in the store. So you may wonder, how do you taste a dog biscuit? Well, customers did, because you can. There's nothing, it's peanut butter, pumpkin, cheddar cheese. Yeah, there's nothing in it that a human can't eat. And so a lot of customers actually would come back to Barb and there was one customer that was teary-eyed, like, my dog is sick and won't eat anything except Bubba Biscuits. And so Barb just kept demoing, and slowly. She said that actually this product took a little bit of time to build. So it wasn't an instant success like the Snowball Rolls and the apple cider donuts, but just with persistence of demoing and getting the word out there.
Right. I guess your dog
grew.
Pets have to, are the ultimate decision maker.
I know.
So they like what they like too. So it's hard to get your pet on board to a new treat, I would say.
And my favorite part is that there's certain contests during the year. We don't run it every single year, but you can get a picture of your pet on the label. We changed the label up.
Awesome.
So Bea was on the label for a little while. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sticking with the apple cider donuts. I'm going to eat those, not the Bubba Biscuits.
What do you mean?
If you want to try our Bubba Biscuits, you sure can. Cause
your dogs will love them.
Yeah,
I know
your
it.
dogs will love them. Or your brother or your sister might love them too.
Yeah, I know. You never know. But I think a good point to mention too is that we try a lot of products. Not all of them succeed.
Oh, yeah. A lot of them really just kind of flop.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it, too. I mean, it kind of makes it makes it a little bit sweeter when you do have something that really takes off and you're behind. But for example, the product that I started right out of college, I remember coming back and I thought I was going to set the world on fire with a espresso filled donut hole. So basically it was
genius. Why didn't that take off?
Come on. This is going to be like the biggest thing of the year, and it was going to go viral, and I was going to say, okay, why you don't have to have your coffee now and a donut. You could just have one espresso. So each donut hole had one shot of espresso inside of it. And like the Bubba biscuits, I sat there, I made them and came up with the recipe and came up with the label and went through the whole process and sat there in the bakery and just demoed them for weeks. And they just didn't sell.
Yeah.
And I tried, but I actually gave them to a few kids and got in trouble because the parents were very upset with me when their 7 or 8 year old kid ate an espresso donut and
no shock there.
Bouncing off the walls later. So but yeah, we have a handful of products that don't work, and I think it just makes you stronger at the end, but you have to
try, because you never know. There's things that surprise us to this day too, products that are brought in that you wouldn't expect to be such a home run, and they are. I also remember the team took a trip out to, I think, Texas, and queso was huge out there. I think still is. And everyone was hyped on queso. We brought it back to our stores in the metro New York area, and it wasn't popular. Our customers didn't want it. So
same with pimento cheese dip.
Yeah,
that was the same thing. I mean, huge out west, but just doesn't move the needle here. And that's okay. But
you don't know unless you try.
What else do we have? We had
what were the Dr. Pepper
baked beans we had at one point. Oh man, that was a tough sell. We tried to sell shaving cream at one point.
Yeah,
that didn't work because people didn't want to buy shaving cream here. We even tried Snowball Roll burger buns.
Yes,
which is interesting because you think, hey, you've got this hot Snowball Roll, let's try it in a different form, and just people decided that the customers just didn't want it.
Yeah, well, they didn't want to give up their brioche hamburger bun. I don't blame them.
So there's a handful of items that don't work, but
yeah,
I guess you got to just keep trucking.
And the nice thing about being a small business too is we try it in one store. If it works, then it goes out to all the other stores, and if it doesn't, then not a lot of loss.
Right, and that's why you're right. I mean, you see, customers will come into Yonkers and say, "Oh, I saw this in Norwalk. How come you don't have it?" And that's because a lot of the items we just start small and test it, and if it's successful, then we'll really go big with it on all 7 of our stores.
Yeah, you never know what will be the next apple cider donut.
You just never know. All right, well, thanks for listening. We appreciate you guys. We hope you enjoyed hearing about some wins and some losses here that we've had.
And subscribe. You can hear more.
We'll see you in the stores.
Don't mind me just sipping on my swoon.
This episode is brought to you by Swoon Iced Tea. It's 0 sugar, monk fruit, sweetened, dad approved.
It's delicious.
Delicious.
And I love it too because it's 2 female founders.